Hi, and welcome to Filmmakers Compass Podcast, a show where we talk about movies and, well, more movies. I'm D-Man, joined by CP, and CP, if you haven't noticed already, because we're on a Zoom call, I am not at my regular set.
I know. There is no droids in the background.
Yes, I am actually having a great time. I'm at a hotel room on a work trip, so... we actually had a good dinner, gone back to the hotel now, and I'm really excited about our topic this week because we're going to continue our conversation from last week and dive into the series that just finished up its season 1, which is Alien Earth. So I know you're super stoked to talk about this. I didn't feel weird revealing that because we kind of alluded to it last week.
Yeah, I think we hinted that we were going to wait another week, but we decided not to. We're like, hey, we had a great time talking about Alien. Let's just go for broke.
Well, and if it's a good sign for anybody listening right now, when we completed last episode, I hadn't watched Alien Earth, and then I watched like a full 8 episodes in like 3 days because that's how good it was.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about it and really pumped for some of the stuff we want to dive into, especially after talking about Alien last week.
For sure,
but,
dude. So, yeah. No, well, let's get into shout outs. I'm sure you've got few.
I do. So first up this week is Ivor. And he actually commented, I just got an ad that Willy Wonka is coming to the Cosm. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if Willy Wonka is at the top of my list of Cosm movies, but, you know, we got Top Gun Maverick, maybe Jurassic Park, Star Wars. But Willy Wonka, I'm in. I mean, Wizard of Oz has done pretty well. Matrix was awesome.
True.
Could be pretty cool.
True.
And then he goes on to say something great about movies. Everybody can have an opinion and everybody's opinion can be different, which nailed it, Ivor. That's why we have a podcast. So then you can discuss and debate those opinions. But CP.
D-Man.
This is coming from Ivor himself. But CP, I have to agree with everything D-Man said about one battle after another.
Okay, Ivor, what is up with this blatant betrayal?
I love it. Everybody has turned on CP at this point.
Wow.
I know. I was like for 4 weeks, for like a whole month, everybody was like, wow. Oh no, CP's right. And now we're back after, you know, it's one battle after another. And now I'm back on top.
Everything D-Man said.
Well, leading into our episode this week, he also said, I can remember the poster for Alien. I just could not comprehend an egg in space, which it's such an epic poster. I mean,
it's actually really ironic because you're right. You look at it and you're like, what?
Is that not like one of the most iconic posters or like DVD covers of all time? I mean, it's incredible. It's just so intriguing. Like you look at it and you're like, wait, what is going on here? And it just takes your attention. You're like, that's everything a poster needs to do.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I also remember hearing how people were throwing up in the theater at the chest burster scene, which is kind of wild. I mean, having just rewatched it twice, I mean, I'm not going to puke, but I mean, you go back, it's like, you know, at one time, and what was it, like the Alfred Hitchcock days, like a man and a wife couldn't sleep in the same bed together on screen, and like they couldn't show a toilet.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, you definitely had the evolution of cinema.
Yeah, like the leap from like not showing a toilet to watching like a man be impregnated and then an alien bursting out of his chest probably was pretty jarring for a lot of people. So kind of get it. And he said, I loved Alien Earth. Can't wait for season 2. And Ivor, I hope you can't wait for this discussion because we're very excited to talk
Ivor and I have been talking pretty much every time the episode wraps, we message each other about it. So Ivor definitely has thoughts, and I'm hoping you go back to agreeing with me because, well, that's just what I want.
Well, I also shared a photo of me at the Cosm for Matrix. And my wife, Steph, said, well, she didn't say anything. She just put 2 fire emojis. But I'm sure that she wasn't talking about Cosm, but my hot bod.
Yeah, probably she was thinking back to the awesome night she had at the Cosm with the great custom cocktails. That's my guess.
Yeah, the Cosm was pretty dope. So, Steph, you're right. That was a fire experience. But here's where things get interesting, CP. Right. In one of my group chats, I don't know what prompted me to ask this, but I threw out there, I said, does anyone think Oppenheimer is better than The Dark Knight? Now, before I actually get into this conversation, what is your opinion on this?
I mean, I think objectively, we have to say that it is.
Oh my
The Dark Knight did not
goodness.
win Best Picture, but Oppenheimer did.
I mean, I think it's really close. Like, if I had to pick, I'd say probably The Dark Knight, just because I hold it in
Listen,
such high regard. But
you and I share a Fandango account, so I know what movies you watch, D-Man.
I watch Oppenheimer a
You
lot.
watch Oppenheimer like once a week.
I
It's been a
love that
while
movie.
since you watched Dark Knight.
It's funny because I read comments about it, and people are, there's some people are like, I fell asleep in the theater and it was so boring. And I'm like, I just don't find it boring at all. I'm fascinated by it. But this is where that conversation gets interesting. Mikey jumped in and said, if you do think Oppenheimer's better than Dark Knight, exit the chat now. He was
Wow.
very definitive that Dark Knight is superior. And here's why. Because then we got into this back and forth about what Mikey's favorite movies were, and he listed his 5 favorite movies. So at number 5, he put Raiders of the Lost Ark. At number 4, he put Monsters Inc. At 3, he put Goodfellas. At 2, he put The Social Network. And at 1, he put The Dark Knight. So there you
I
go,
don't think
CP.
that's true. I think he likes The Dark Knight Rises better than The Dark Knight.
No, he loves The Dark
Mikey
Knight.
tried to sell that pretty hard back in the day.
Trust me. Well, so CP, here's where things get really interesting. So check this out. Mikey then gave an honorable mention to Dune Part 2, right?
Okay.
Well, then Matt Hellison jumped in and said the Dune movies are fine. A solid 6.5 out of 10.
Well, he's illiterate, so
You
he's
can
not a
imagine this
cultured
conversation.
gentleman.
Yeah,
Okay.
he said unpopular opinion, but Dennis Villeneuve peaked with Arrival.
Wow.
So he does not like Dune, apparently, or he certainly doesn't like it. I don't know
Heck?
how else.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna start blocking Mikey's text and Matt Hilson's text because both of them are just dumb. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys.
Then Matt Hellison went on to list his 5 favorite movies.
And they're probably terrible. Go ahead.
No, they're actually awesome. He said number 5, Big Lebowski. Number 4, Goodfellas. Number 3, Pulp Fiction. Number 2, No Country for Old Men. And number 1, Jaws. Which
Okay.
that's a
I'm
pretty.
sorry. I'm sorry. No Country for No Country for Old Men has no business being in anyone's top 5. Hot take.
I mean,
No business.
it's pretty good. I don't know.
No. Anyone can find 5 better movies than that. The highest you could ever rank it is 6. We could
Okay.
probably find 5 better Coen Brothers films than that. This is stupid.
Oh my god! And then Hellison jumps in. This conversation was good, and I'm bringing it. It's all movies because then he goes, "This run of films is ridiculously good" by Denis Villeneuve, where he said Polytechnique, Incendies, Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, and Arrival, and he's not wrong, right?
Yeah.
But then I had to hit back, and I had to be like, okay, that's a damn good run, but here's Spielberg's run from fucking 1975 to 1998. So 20 years. Spielberg did Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Twilight Zone the movie, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Color Purple, Empire of the Sun, Last Crusade, Always Hook, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, The Lost World, Amistad, and Saving Private Ryan.
Now, the ironic thing is almost every other one of those films is great.
Well, so here's where things get even more interesting. Hellison jumps in and says, wow, there's a few misses in there. And that's where I was like, okay, I cannot let any Spielberg slander, I can't let it go.
Okay.
Because I was like, yeah, but Spielberg's hits, they're all-time greats. He pushed the boundaries of special effects multiple times with ILM. He got 4 theme park rides. He set the all-time box office record 3 times. And motherfucker worked through his own personal trauma with his father and his parents' divorce.
Okay. So thank you for being a Spielberg apologist. I don't think he needs it.
All right. Well, then fine. if you don't think this is better than Denis Villeneuve's run, Jaws, Close Encounters, Raiders, E.T., Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan. I mean, is any of Villeneuve's movies even better than any of those?
I mean, just out of my own bias, I'm going to say Dune and Dune Part 2 are better than E.T.
No. The run that Helson listed, because he said Dune is a 6.5.
No. Well, but that
I'm just saying. I'm like, wow. And that's only the first half of Spielberg's career.
true.
Literally. Now you can go from 2000 to 2025 and you got everything else that he's done in that time, which is a pretty good run for almost any other director. And yet the first half of his career is literally littered with absolute classics. So I'm sorry, CP. I had to go on a little vent here because I just can't leave the Spielberg slander alone.
I'm sorry, dude.
Oh man. And then another shout out to Boone, who said Social Dilemma incoming. I don't know if you saw this, CP, but apparently they're making a sequel to The Social Network.
That's stupid.
And it's not even starring Jesse Eisenberg. He's not coming back as Mark Zuckerberg. It's going to be like Jeremy Strong from Succession.
That's stupid.
And it's not even going to be directed by.
It's not a Fincher movie?
No, it's going to be directed by, who was the writer? Sorkin?
Sorkin?
I don't even know if he's ever directed a movie.
Yeah, no. Sorkin did. He did the movie with he did Molly's Game. He directed Molly's Game. That was his directorial debut, which is actually really good.
Yeah.
But it would be weird going from a Fincher movie to a non-Fincher movie in a sequels. I think that's a weird move.
Side note, here's Fincher's run. Alien 3, 7, The Game, Fight Club, Panic Room, Zodiac, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Gone Girl.
Yeah, and Alien 3 is awful.
Alien 3 is pretty good. I don't know where you're getting it. It's
not
awful.
Nope, it's awful. That's exactly where the Alien franchise starts going off the rails.
All right, I need a definitive. We're gonna go up against. We got to do this. I'm sorry that we're tangenting so far. I know we're gonna talk Alien Earth eventually, but
I don't think we will. But okay,
we have Christopher Nolan here. Following Memento, Insomnia, Batman. Well, let's just say the trilogy: Prestige, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer, and then he hasn't done the Odyssey yet, but it's coming.
Okay,
and then you have Tarantino. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bills, Death Proof, Inglourious Bastards, Django, Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So if you had to go, and we're going to include Dunes Part 1 and Part 2 here. You don't have to rank them, but for real, of all those directors, who's had the best run? I mean, for real.
The problem is this. Now I'm pulling this up just because I got to check, right?
Those are all insane runs. I mean, obviously we're talking about the best of all time, but wow. I don't know, man. I think I'm still going Spielberg, even though his run isn't like consistent all the way through. He has the movies that I personally like the most, and that I think both impacted the industry as well as are just iconic.
Okay, but you guys are. I don't know that you can start having this conversation unless you're checking everyone. Like, you need to go back and look at Billy Wilder or Cecil B. DeMille and look at some of their run of hits before you start saying best ever.
All right, I'm saying Spielberg's got to be in the conversation for best ever, but if I'm putting him up against these other four, I'm going with Spielberg is what I'm saying. I'm not saying Spielberg definitively beats everyone of all time. I'm saying he's got to be in the conversation. But if you're putting him up against these five guys, I think I'm taking Spielberg.
Fincher, Villanueva, Nolan,
Tarantino,
and Tarantino. Spielberg. So we're not looking at Martin Scorsese?
No.
He's a shitty filmmaker. We don't consider him.
Just these five.
And are you looking at that first couple of years?
I mean, their runs, yeah.
But that's not really fair because there's a time gap thing there.
Like, I mean, it's true.
Spielberg's run is like a 20-year run.
Yeah.
So we're not just comparing 20 years, we're comparing a whatever D-Man decides is an appropriate run. So we're not looking at entire careers. We're not looking at over like a 5-year span or a 3-year span or a 1-year span.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I gave the other four their entire runs against Spielberg's first half.
I know, I know. But the difference is when you look at Nolan's run, Nolan had a better, over fewer films, he had less misses than Spielberg did.
That's
Spielberg
nuts
had
to me.
1941, which is awful, and he admits it.
I mean, Hook's amazing. I don't even think that's a miss. Like, is Amistad an instant classic? No, but it's still a good movie.
All right, but I'm with you. If you give an entire career, Spielberg did it better than all those other guys.
Oh man, I'm sorry I had a tangent there, CP, but this movie conversation just took me for a wild ride. But all those directors are incredibly impressive. I mean, it's pretty awesome that we're living through some of, I guess, the better directors. So, well, final shout out. Sorry, CP, but final shout out is a RIP to Diane Keaton.
R.I.P. One of the other great celebrities to pass away this year.
Yeah. Sad news, especially given that, I think from the public's perspective, not many people knew that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So came as a bit of a shock, but yeah, great career.
So I got one shout out, and normally you handle these. This is from Darren. He messaged me. I had to share this with everyone. So he texted me, and let me pull this up. He said, "Hey, what did you think of One Battle After Another?"
Oh, I loved it.
And I
Oh,
know
he
you
wasn't
did.
asking me. Yeah, he was asking you. Sorry.
He said, "I didn't really like it." He said, "I saw
What?
your post and I agree." And I said, "Okay." I didn't say I didn't like it. I had some complaints. And he said, "But this is going to make you laugh. I went into the movie based on the trailer thinking it was a time travel movie."
What?
And he said, "The whole time I was sitting through the first act with his fiance, he said, and I was sitting there going, bro, when does the time travel come into play?"
Oh my God.
And I just want to know, did anyone else out there think this was a time travel movie? Did I totally miss something in the trailer? Because
No, but
Darren, you're the only one I think who actually thought this was about time travel.
I will say that I'm on his side here, meaning that when I saw the trailer, it looked wacky, like not really anything like the movie that it was. I mean, it's a great movie. I just remember the trailer being like so out there that I was kind of like, I don't even know.
It felt much more like Coen Brothers to me watching the trailer.
Yeah, it was weird. It was strange. Yeah.
Like it felt like a dark comedy, like in the guise of like Fargo or something. Mostly because you see that like there's that long sequence where DiCaprio jumps out of
Yeah.
Del
The
Toro's car, and I was
the
like, "This is
truck,
is
yeah.
this like out of like Fargo or something?"
No,
Anyway,
I agree. Well, Darren, I mean, at least we're on the same page about the trailer. That was definitely weird. It actually reminds me of do you remember that joke from The Office where Dwight is like, I bought tickets to go see Grizzly Man, but he accidentally walked into Wedding Crashers. And he's like, I ended up staying for the whole thing because that's the thing about bear attacks. You never know when they're gonna happen. And I'm like, that's Darren waiting for the time travel. He's like, you never know.
oh
Could
my
come out of
gosh,
nowhere.
that's so hilarious. Oh my gosh. Anyway, um, there we go, folks.
All right. Well, yeah, that does it for shout outs. CP, I'm going to throw it over to you for our box office breakdown.
All right, box office breakdown. We'll try and keep this quick because we got a little tangented there.
Sorry.
So, number 5, Conjuring, Last Rites.
Still going, man. They're just
Still
printing
going.
money. They're printing money over there.
Number 4, Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. We talked about that, and I don't think either of us are actually going to go see it.
I'm not.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. Number 3, that time travel movie, One Battle After Another.
That time
So
travel, I'll never forget that.
I
Whenever I
know,
think of
right?
this movie now, I'll be like, where's the time travel?
So it is up to almost $141 million, which is great because if you remember, the cost of production was 175 million. So they're chipping away. Obviously, word of mouth is helping this film because, as you pointed out earlier, a lot of people have really enjoyed it. D-Man,
I mean, I can go see a lot of other movies, but I might go see that one again.
I actually might do the same. Now, number two, brand new movie in the theaters for the first time this
Mhm.
past weekend, opening Roof Man.
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer for that because it takes place at a Toys R Us.
I know. I'm only going to go see it because I love Toys R Us. I know you do too. Fun fact, everyone: D-Man actually worked in Toys R Us for a couple years.
Crazy but true. Yeah.
He could probably tell us some great stories. Maybe after we see Roofman, we should do an
Tangent
episode
again.
on Roofman and you can
Yeah.
talk about your experiences in Toys R Us.
We'll go see Roofman and then talk Toys R Us stories. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, we should do it. That'd be fun.
All right. Well, I mean, it does look cool because I mean, I don't know how loosely it's based on a true story, but is using that premise pretty strongly in the trailers
Yeah.
that this happened. So
Yeah. So I'm curious to check it out. I know some people who did see it and said they thought it was fun. Number one in the box office, Tron Ares, which D-Man and I are both going to be seeing. We're going to be talking about this movie next week as part of a greater Tron discussion.
I'm excited for that.
It has made $64 million domestically and worldwide, which they still got a lot of work to do because it was made for about 180 million.
Hmm.
So Disney's got a,
Yeah, I
you
mean
know,
the thing with Tron right now is that my understanding of the release weekend commentary around it is that the story and the characters were not the strongest, but like the visuals, the score, and some of the action sequences are really cool. So it's like on one hand, there's a lot there that if you watch the trailer, you're like, I'll probably like this. But then you're seeing all these influencers, on social media, and they're like, oh, this movie's not that good. I mean, these people really can sway opinions. Kind of crazy.
yeah, it ironically everything we're hearing about Tron Ares feels like the exact same praise and criticism that we heard about Tron Legacy like 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. Daft Punk scores. Well, we'll get into it
Yeah.
once we see it. But yeah.
Next episode. So, Alien Earth.
All right, let's go. We're diving into our main discussion here. Alien Earth, set 2 years before the original Alien. It is
Mm-hmm.
officially a prequel. I know last week we were kind of on the fence about, I think, where it takes place on the timeline, but we looked it up. 2 years before the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a wholly original cast, and it's loosely tied to the overall timeline and canon. I mean, Weyland-Yutani's there. There's the premise, which opens up, explaining that there's like four corporations battling
Mm-hmm.
over different sectors of Earth. There's these synthetic beings, robots, all this different stuff. And I mean, if we just jump into it, I mean, when the show launched, what were your expectations for it, CP? Like, what were you thinking? Because you were excited and really enjoyed Alien Romulus. So, I mean, they're making a show. What do you think they're gonna do here?
Well, if you remember, there was a lot at Comic-Con promoting this heavily.
Mhm.
And I was off the bat very skeptical because for one, this whole Prodigy Corporation thing, didn't understand it, right? The primary corporate overlord in the Alien universe is Weyland-Yutani. I was like, what's this Prodigy Corp that we've never heard of? This seems odd. The other issue that I had was I wasn't really sure how it was going to work out. So much of the themes and the horror and the tropes of Alien have to do with people trapped in these remote places where it's dark and they're alone with xenomorphs. I
Yeah,
didn't know
and
how
a
that was going to work on
spaceship
Earth.
works perfect for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was very skeptical. I think I even in if we go back 10 episodes or whatever the Comic-Con episode, I think I said, "Hey, I'm not really sure if I'm going to dig this show."
Well, I mean, let's start with the setting on Earth. I mean, do you think it was a good decision to bring the xenomorphs and the story to a familiar location?
I mean, We will have to see how it goes. Obviously, season one ends, and we know there's going to be season two. They do two things I think that work really well. For one, most of it's taking place on the Neverland Island, so again, it's remote and secluded, or it's taking place in the wreckage or the spaceship, and both of those are kind of closed off, remote settings. So it wasn't as the story is still told in kind of a claustrophobic environment everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it actually worked well. It was refreshing to kind of not just be on a spaceship again. And it's ironic given some of the commentary we're going to have for an episode later in the series. But I mean, I feel like you got to keep things fresh. You constantly have to change it up, even if at the end of the day, I mean, it is still aliens and humans against each other, with some synthetics, uh, some AI and stuff in there. But
Mm-hmm.
generally, I thought it was successful. I'm interested in a season two. I thought this season worked incredibly well on many levels. With, first of all, I loved the introduction of some new aliens. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that was a great expansion for the alien universe in general, right? Knowing that there's other species out there beyond just the xenomorphs.
Yeah, and I think part of the tension of the Alien series is this progression of them. We talked about this last week with Alien. It's like, oh, there's this mysterious spaceship or building or whatever. Then they go in there and there's these eggs. Then one of them like attaches themselves to this guy. And after that, he seems fine. But then there's this chest burster.
Yeah.
Then the alien's small. Then it's big. It's like this progression of sort of evolution as the story progresses. I thought they did an incredible job here of they had multiple new aliens. There were the flying bug ones, the eye, obviously the eye is also the sheep, but the sheep,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they had a lot here that it was kind of fun because obviously we're getting more xenomorphs, we're getting more aliens, but we know that already. We know,
Mhm.
so it's weird because they're almost leaning into they're constantly building up to the egg opening.
Yeah.
There's this tension of like who's it going to attach to and all that. So now they're playing on our expectations, which I thought was great. If you're a prequel, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
100% is take my expectations and use them against me. And they do it well. And by introducing these sort of other aliens, there's the other one that like hangs and like sucks people
Like
up.
the plant one, which we really don't see till the end. There's the eye, there's the ticks, there's the wasps, and I thought
Yeah.
that was all really cool. And they're all uniquely different. And in I guess what's good for the series is none of them are really explored to the extent that they can be explored.
Yeah, and well, that's another thing is that it lends itself well to the medium that they're doing this in, which is like that would be a lot to try to cram into a 2 hour movie.
Hmm.
So by making it, an 8 episode show or essentially 8 hours, you're giving yourself a lot more time to be able to explore these different elements. And I thought they used the time wisely here. It was a lot of fun.
No, I agree. It was
There's a
definitely
lot
fun.
of good kills.
No, it was great and a great source of tension. So I did agree. That was one of my favorite things, and I think it does it really, really well.
Well, so for anybody that's listening and hasn't actually seen the show, but even if you have, I mean, essentially what you're looking at is a story where you have the Prodigy Corporation and what's the guy's name, the actual Prodigy?
Boy Cavalier.
Yeah, Boy Cavalier. Essentially, you have this CEO who's creating these synthetic beings and borderline, he's taking the consciousness of sick kids and transporting it into a robotic body and
Mm-hmm.
essentially trying to create human immortality by transporting consciousness, which this isn't new to science fiction. People have talked about this stuff for a
No,
while.
in fact, even Alien Romulus has a lot to do with the whole concept of evolving humans using the alien DNA, right?
Right. Yeah.
They're like, how are we going to be better? How do we make humans survive the harshness of space? So it's exploring same themes the genre and the series has already explored. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I'm just giving some context here, which is like essentially there's this moral ethical dilemma, which is like when you transport somebody's consciousness into one of these robotic bodies, did you kill the person they were, even if they retain some of their memories and self in this new entity? So they're dealing with this a lot, and that's translated throughout the story by this sense that these adult synthetics are actually kids. They're
Mm-hmm.
kids in adult bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I wanted to throw it over to you. Like when it comes to the Peter Pan elements, you already mentioned they're on Neverland Island. The main character is Wendy. There's excerpts of the CEO reading the Peter Pan book. I think it's Peter Pan and Wendy, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
boy who never grew up.
Yeah.
Because trust me, he's not reading the Disney movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but what did you think about how they sort of play these characters off as like naive adolescents, 12-year-olds almost?
Well, I thought if we look at it from the perspective of the Alien franchise, it was kind of interesting, right? Synthetics are throughout the series of films. We've never really seen synthetics in this portrayal before, which
Mhm.
is as with childlike consciousness and childlike views of the world. So I thought that was an interesting twist on something we already knew.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I don't know that it's explored thematically through the episodes so much to the point that it's compelling. I think at some points, we kind of mentioned it almost gets a little old.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like I enjoyed it the first couple episodes, this sort of naivete about the synthetics kind of being kids. They almost felt like, Goonies to me. Like they'd be in these scenarios and they're kind of like joking around or like, hey, do you want to go play games later?
Or they're
Like,
so like naive, like, they're carrying essentially dead bodies and not realizing they're dead.
well, and one of them's carrying like a stuffed animal, and their
Yeah, yeah.
nicknames are like Wendy and Toodles and, Tink and all that. But I did find that by the later episodes, I felt that they kept leaning into this childlike element of their characters, and it grew tiresome to me. It felt like they were using that sort of as an element to just push the writing along. It made things easier rather than having to write themselves out of these boxes that they created.
And something I think that's actually very interesting when we look at the character of Wendy,
Mhm.
who is probably my favorite, one of my favorite characters in the series, she actually probably has the least of that element going on. There's a little bit of that in the first episode of her realizing she's not really a kid anymore, but
Yeah.
she kind of accepts that she has grown and adapted, and I think that's also why as a synthetic she is the one who evolves the fastest in terms of her ability to do things that none of the scientists expected and none of the other um, synthetic kids can.
Yeah, and she is the first. So she also sort of takes on this leadership role amongst the synthetics, as well as, obviously probably has actually advanced the furthest. She's not only like one of the oldest in terms of age when their consciousness were transferred, but also she appears to be like the most advanced. So it makes sense that, she would be the one to embody that as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But the other characters, like, I don't know, they end up using, I can't think of his name, but one of the characters, they sort of blackmail him. I think he actually says blackmail,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where the character of Morrow from the ship, actually, who is, on Earth trying to secure the cargo, which is the aliens and all of the organic life that they have on that ship for, uh, what is it?
Weyland-Yutani.
Weyland-Yutani. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just sort of like goes and finds this kid's mother, and like I said, their consciousness transferred, so he sort of knows what's going on, and he remembers his family, and he blackmails him and says he's going to kill his mother and his brother and sister or whatever. And so he just kind of gets this kid to go along with all of these things, and there's very little resistance. I mean, in terms of narrative story elements, he doesn't really resist. He just says he doesn't want to do it, and then he just does it.
Yeah.
So
Um, Yeah.
That to me, a lot of that kind of grew tiresome. I would have liked all that reduced to maybe one episode, but it plays out over many episodes. And I just felt like we already knew where this was going. And then it goes where you thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't, like we said earlier, like there's all these different aliens and you don't know who's going to get the face hugger. And yeah, there's this tension that you're waiting for it, but it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't pay out the way I think you would want it to. Like all that build up, and then it's like, I don't know, that guy just died. And it wasn't even like one of the main characters, and then that's it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, all right. I have a question for you. What did you think about the xenomorph fighting people in the daylight?
Okay. Um, so I think obviously this is an alien show we're expecting xenomorphs. Now, I thought I think we have to think about it as the series progresses. Episode 1, we get the ship that is crashing and we see the xenomorph attacking crew members before impact on Earth. And I thought that was great. And that's very in line stylistically, visually with, the original Alien film.
Yeah. I mean, can we
Then,
just acknowledge that quick opening sequence
oh,
is incredible?
incredible. And I remember watching that and I was like, I'm totally sold. I mean, it's enough to get you through all the kind of world building of the first episode, which drags a little bit at times. But because of that opening sequence, you're pretty much invested.
Oh yeah, it's so good. I was sold right away.
Then episode 2, we get a significant amount of xenomorph as they go to the crash site, and the xenomorph is there hunting down the Marines who are doing search and rescue. And
Mhm.
that's, again, great. I
Yeah,
think,
secluded location. You have
yeah,
the
yeah.
characters. It's unfamiliar territory, but for the xenomorph, it's like, hey, you're in my world now. You're on the spaceship.
Then everything goes back into the complexities of these alien species and the corporate battle between Prodigy and Weyland-Yutani. But we get episode 5,
Wow,
which,
incredible.
which is essentially the film Alien in the middle of this series, and it's great. It is honestly what I think part of the reason why I love this series so much is I just love that episode. I think it's really well made.
Yeah, I mean, they essentially take the premise of what is Alien, and they're like, what if we just, twist and turn some of the elements, and it's a little bit different, but you're like, ta-da! This is probably what everybody wanted the whole time anyway.
And the production designer, the showrunner, everyone said like, "Hey, we knew we were going to do this. We wanted to do this giant tribute to Alien and give the fans what they wanted, and they execute it flawlessly. In fact, I would say it's probably one of my favorite episodes of a series in anything. I just think
Yeah,
it's
it's
really well done.
and the other thing too is again, they're taking this idea of a prequel, and like
Hmm.
you said, they have the opening sequence of the series. So we sort of already have an idea of what happens. So they're taking this idea of a prequel and then prequeling that
Yep.
into an episode. So it was fascinating because I was like, oh my God, they're playing with all this tension. I thought it was so much fun. I don't
Yep.
even know how else to describe it.
Yeah. It's great. Then after that, we get back to the main events, and that's where we start seeing the xenomorph in daylight. And that bothered me because I feel like that breaks what we have been conditioned to expect, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the alien universe, when we see the xenomorph, it's in a dark, dreary places, abandoned space stations, spaceships, prison
Uh
planet caves, places
yeah, I
where
was gonna
there's
say,
not a lot of people. It's gritty. It's we don't just see it running through the jungle, jumping
yeah,
out on
right.
people like Predator.
Like harsh weather ravaged planets where
Yeah,
like stepping outside is dangerous on its own. I know I made that joke last week about like going to different planets and it's like, oh, they don't, how come they didn't end up on Naboo? But you're like,
yeah,
would you expect to see a xenomorph on Naboo?
exactly.
Like, not
And
really.
I it kind of doesn't work. I mean, maybe, if it had been dark and rainy in the jungle and the xenomorph was there, maybe that would have been better. It just feels out of place. It doesn't feel right. Like later towards the end of the series, episode 8, where it starts running around the Prodigy complex and going through the vents and things, that's a little more in line with what we expect. But when it's in the jungle, it's weird. It's also weird how most of the time, and you brought this to my attention, I didn't realize it, but you're 100% right. Most of the time in the
Thank
Alien
you.
series, when the alien attacks, it's usually getting people, individuals by themselves, right?
Yeah.
And in this, we see it jumping into massive hordes of soldiers and, you
I mean,
know,
it's badass, but it's weird too because at times it's like the alien will go one on one with somebody in this series and like it'll get shot by one bullet and like run away. But then in another scene, it takes out like a whole battalion of soldiers.
yeah,
No
yeah,
problem. And so you're kind of like, at
it's
times, like
inconsistent.
there's this varying degree of like, how strong is this thing really? Cause like, yeah, like it might get freaked out about this, but then at other times it's like it can totally do the impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I also know that during that scene where it does attack, I mean, you had mentioned earlier in our pre-production meeting that there was even a shot that you thought wasn't really a very good special effects shot where it almost stood out to you
Yeah,
because of the daylight.
it's episode 8. It's crawling on the beach in the sand, and it looks like you can see like the ripples in the fabric. It is, considering the great lengths that they go to in this show to build practical sets, to have practical effects. They do have CGI. It's really well done. You know, the production designer, talks a lot about the budget that they spent to recreate things as accurate, practically accurate to the original
Yeah.
world of 1979 Alien. And seeing this, like in that last sequence, I think it's one of the opening shots of episode 8. I was just like, wow, that's really bad. Like, how did that slip in there? You know?
Yeah. Well, another, if we're talking about the xenomorphs, I mean, one of the other things that stood out to me was I don't know how much of a fan I was with the character of Wendy. Not necessarily. I don't hate the idea of her being able to speak the language of the xenomorphs and being able to communicate with them. I don't know that I was a huge fan narratively of just
Of her
the,
treating it like a dog.
yeah, like she could just control the xenomorph. I don't know if I like that. I like the idea of the way she takes advantage of the technology.
Mhm.
She's on the network. That makes sense to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, they're mirroring it here where it's like, oh, she can control the network, control this technology, and even some of the androids, whatever. But I'm
Yeah.
like, that in story sort of makes sense. But taking away sort of the autonomy of the xenomorph and it's alluded to multiple times by her brother that these things are just killing machines and they're primal and they just, they're going after their prey. You can't control them. And she just sort of, because she can speak the language, can. I don't like the way it makes the xenomorph feel so inconsequential.
I agree. And I think it's a disservice because I think part of what makes the xenomorph so horrifying in horror and sci-fi is it feels like, kind of as it's described by Ash, I think in episode, how it's this perfectly evolved survival machine. And it doesn't, it seems like the thing that you would never be able to negotiate with or rationalize. It seems like all it does is hunt, feed, reproduce, right?
Yeah.
And I think that completely biologically driven animalistic nature is what makes it so terrifying, right?
Yeah. And sort of like, so now, like, oh, her brother can stand there next to the xenomorph and it won't kill him because she just told it not to. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I did not like that.
and I get thematically sort of what they're doing is like she's sort of grown into her all powerful. But also, we talked earlier about the overall timeline of where this is all at. And it's like, this is 2 years before Alien. And you're telling me over on Earth, like, they had
They've
synthetics that,
domesticated xenomorphs.
right? Yeah. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I even like that within the context of the timeline.
I I also think that with all the chaos going on in that final episode, right? You have the rogue synthetics and the kids. You have Prodigy soldiers. You have Weyland-Yutani soldiers. You have Moro, the cyborg, who we haven't even talked about yet, but we'll get into.
Yeah.
You have the xenomorphs. You have the other alien species. And to our knowledge, they don't align, the aliens. In fact, we've seen times where they fight against each other. I would have much rather seen all these elements of chaos on the board kind of interacting in almost random,
Yeah.
unpredictable ways, because that's what it feels like would have happened on that island, and it would have been complete chaos.
Well, and if there is a season two, I mean, one of the things we mentioned earlier is all the different aliens that were, confined within the ship. Well, you're right. They, in the flashbacks and both in the way they behave, even in the present, within the context of the story, they don't appear to be on the same team, even though they're all aliens. They seem
Mm-hmm.
to be at odds with each other. And the sheep clearly has plans, is obviously very smart,
Mm-hmm.
also is able to communicate. I don't know if it simply understands English, but it does seem like it's able to communicate. So it was like I kind of was expecting a little bit more from that, and it never really goes anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's
agree.
just sort of the eye being like, oh, I would love to take over a human body and then potentially be able to talk to somebody. But even that doesn't 100% make sense, because in episode 5, it does take over a human body. It's not like it starts talking.
No, in fact, it fights the xenomorph.
Yeah. So like I don't know. It's just kind of weird because it was like there were a few elements towards the end where I was like hoping maybe for a little bit bigger of a payout, that it didn't really go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm assuming they're going to get a green light on a season 2. So
I
I don't want to
definitely
say
think so.
it's not going anywhere. I'm just guessing that they're going to do it in a future season.
True.
So that would be kind of cool. But I mean, I did like what they were doing, because it opened up like I said, it opened up this idea of elongated tension between what we know is going to happen, but we just don't know how.
Yeah.
And then you have new aliens where it's like, until we reach that point, we can get this, cathartic monster attack that,
Yep.
feeds our desire to watch people get, murdered by aliens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even if it's a synthetic or an android or whatever, like it's still pretty cool. So I don't know. I thought those things work. One of the things I actually thought about though, while I was sort of watching the movie, is okay, so we're in 2025. We have iPhone 17s in our pockets. I don't, but
Mm.
our technology is fairly advanced. And it's funny because like they're what, 200 years in the future from where we are
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And it's like they use this technology that it's kind of what people thought the future would look like in 1978, 79,
Mm-hmm.
and they maintain it to great degree, and it's awesome. But it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of funny because it reminds me a little bit of like the original Star Wars, where it's like, yeah, they did all this in the 70s, but because they're maintaining like in-world continuity, Star Wars can't have iPhones. Like it just can't, because like,
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the thing that helped, right, is the Weyland-Yutani ecosystem that we see seems a little bit more like that 70s industrial tech.
yeah,
Whereas the Prodigy ecosystem on the island is kind of a little bit more of an Apple.
advanced. Yeah.
It's more of a refined, like the beautiful aspects of technology. So I thought that was kind of maybe a part of the way that they worked their way around that, right? As we
Yeah, I
went to
like that.
different places, different uh, companies put emphasis on different types of technology and the way they design things. I thought that was sort of interesting.
Yeah, I loved it. That's what I think you make an excellent point, man. Like that's incredible, because I always wonder how they're going to meld that world where it's like, yeah, it opens with like FX Presents, and all the title cards use that sort of green text of like MS DOS,
Yeah,
like this old
yeah,
computer system in
yeah.
this like way advanced time. You're like, I can't imagine that the best way to talk to mother is to type on a mechanical keyboard. But I guess it is, and they
Mhm.
maintain it. But then it's like, I love that added element of like, oh, well, you have these different corporations and like technology is different in these different places. So that was really cool.
I did, and that's actually one of the things I liked about the character Moro. Right, this is a guy who is on the ship that crashes. He's a cyborg. For one, they're exploring the fact that he is now living in a world. He's the only survivor of this crash. The people that he left on Earth are dead. The only thing he has to live for is Weyland-Yutani. But also at the time that he real arrives on Earth, 3 generations after he left, he is now outdated technology, right?
Yeah.
He's dealing with synthetics and all these advances in technology, and him with his cyborg arm is suddenly outdated. And it was kind of an interesting exploration of technology because we compare him to synthetic characters, and in many ways, he is more calculating and heartless than all the fully robotic synthetic life forms in the series. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us full circle because you end up with this sort of even though he may be less technologically advanced, he actually is an adult and has all this time and history, you know, to his experience to rely on, where you go back to the idea that even though these synthetics are more advanced, they're kids,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And he
And
easily manipulates them and tricks them and,
everyone
outfoxes
does.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone sort of does. And that's something that I think the series does to great effect, even though, like I said, like at times I all I meant earlier, CP, was I don't like when the show gets like silly.
No, I know exactly what you mean, right?
Like, I don't know, I think of a like Star Wars, right? And it's like we love the
Of
world,
course,
it's
you got to
fun,
reference
it's
Star Wars.
funny, yeah, but like it's that element of Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace where it's like the silliness almost went too far, where you're like, hey, I mean, this whole thing's not like a joke, right? And not that I feel like Alien Earth went that far. I don't think anybody was hating on any characters in this show like they did on Jar Jar.
Mm-hmm.
But it just felt at times when they leaned too hard into that adolescence that sometimes it kind of felt a little silly. Like, I think it was I can't think of his name, but he's the black synthetic. And he like at times he's
Isaac?
Isaac.
Oh,
Yeah.
or
No.
Tuttles.
Yeah, no, not Isaac. I can't think of his name, but at times he's like literally like, let's go play. Like
Yeah, yeah,
almost like a 8-year old. And I get it, he is an 8-year old, but
yeah,
it just seems to undermine at times. I'm like, oh my God, like
yeah.
take this seriously. But anyway, I do love the overall dynamic though of like you have this old technology, but guy brings experience to this new technology where they're not advanced,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with their mind at all. And so it's kind of a lot of fun.
Definitely agree.
They do it to great effect. And what do you think of the CEO, the
Boy
prodigy?
Cavalier.
Yeah, Boy Cavalier.
I think it was a missed opportunity. And I think my problem is this. Obviously, you know, there's a, he's a, by the end of the series, we find out he's just in it to make another couple $1 trillion,
I
right?
know, I hated that line
And
where
that,
he's like, we can make trillions. And I was like, was it all about money for real?
and what I love is, early on, he does kind of have an attachment to the synthetics, especially Wendy. He's really fascinated by her. And I think I would have much rather seen his relationship be, what if he was someone who was, an innovator, an inventor, a scientist who was so caught up in the can we do it, he forgot to ask, should we do it? Right? He was
Jurassic Park.
so obsessed with advancing science, right?
Yeah.
Or he was so captivated by this creation that is Wendy and the other, Lost Boys, that it gets to the point where he is actively disregarding the input of the people around him because he's so fascinated with these creatures that he's created, right? And we
Yeah.
don't really see any of that. He becomes more and more and like of a stereotypical hyper capitalist, trillionaire industrialist who we'd expect, who just cares about money and power. And I
Yeah.
thought we've seen that played out so often. And I thought this could have been a cool approach for something different.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it started off really promising, but as it went on, it just felt more and more like his own arrogance just got in his way.
Mm-hmm.
I think at one point he says a line where he says, like, I just want to be able to have an interesting conversation. And I'm like, you don't think everything that's going on isn't like
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
like it's so all far beneath him that it was like, I mean, even I don't believe it. Like
yeah.
that's incredibly arrogant.
No,
Because like literally there's aliens you've never seen here and you're talking about being bored.
yeah.
Like that's crazy. Or like even the idea of the technology they're developing themselves at Prodigy. Like they're literally pushing the boundaries of human immortality and
Hmm.
synthetics. And he's talking about being bored. And I was like, I just don't believe it.
No, I'm with you. I didn't like that.
So yeah, that stood out. But also I did, to the point you were making earlier, I also really liked the theme that they brought in of like Wendy being his favorite, and they disregard that as well. They have these sort of throughout Alien, these like we talked about it last week, like these mother themes,
Yeah.
whether it's referring to the ship AI as mother, there's the queen alien. Uh, Ripley herself takes on either a mother role or at other times other roles because she has genetics infused with her,
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever. But like here you have sort of Wendy, Wendy from Peter Pan, who Peter wants her to be his mom, and
Hmm.
like they have all these mother elements, and then they even bring in this idea. I can't remember her name, the redheaded character.
Hmm.
She believes she's pregnant.
Hmm.
And again, kind of like the CEO, where they start off with these elements of like he's really fascinated by Wendy and she's her favorite or his favorite, and then they sort of abandon it as the story goes on. They bring in this really interesting storyline where the redhead believes she's pregnant after she was sort of attacked by the alien,
Hmm.
which 100%, I'm not 100%. I don't know what was going on there and why she thought she was pregnant or whatever. But you're dealing with themes of motherhood with
Yeah.
some of that. And then they abandon that too. They just end up wiping her memory and sort of clearing, those chess pieces off the story deck. And they're like, we don't have to deal with the pregnancy thing. They end up just sort of using it as a plot device to be able
Yeah.
to clear
Yeah.
her memory. But CP, I do love that when they clear her memory, that is a clear breach of trust for the characters. So I like what they did with it. I just didn't like that they abandoned that element of the story
Yeah.
because when Wendy finds out that they cleared one of the synthetics memories, you know what went through my head? I'm thinking if I'm Wendy, I'm like, how many times have you cleared my memory?
Well, and I mean, and obviously story wise, that's great, right? Because up until that point, Hermit is kind of saying like, "Hey, Hermit being Wendy's biological brother from before
Yes.
the synthetic transfer, he's like, "Hey, I got to get you out of here. Let's get out of here. I'll take care of you. It's not safe." And she, up until that point, is very much like, "No, this is where I belong. These are my people. They take care of me." And then as soon as that happens, boom, she's like, "Nope, we're leaving. I can't trust these people anymore." So, from a story aspect, that actually was executed very well.
Yeah.
I agree, but this whole like, why did she think she was pregnant thing never goes anywhere.
Or like the CEO, sort of like being like Wendy's special. And even at one point, I think another one of the synthetics is like, you told me I was your favorite. And like, I don't know, it just never kind of goes anywhere.
Yeah,
It was
no, I agree.
interesting. I kind of wanted to see where it was going to go, kind of like the other aliens versus aliens. I
Yeah,
kind of wanted to see where it was going to go, but it didn't really go anywhere. So there was
yeah.
like a couple of these elements embedded throughout the story that I actually was really fascinated with that I don't know, just didn't pay out yet, but we got season 2 hopefully. It's not greenlit yet, CPI checked.
I know, but I freaking hope it is. So the other character who I thought was really a lot of fun and I really enjoyed was Kitch, played by
Yeah,
Timothy Oliphant, who is a much more traditional synthetic as we know it in the
like an
AI,
android. Yeah,
in
like
the
an android.
alien universe, right? He still bleeds, white milk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I thought was interesting about Kitch is he sort of oscillates between Bishop from Aliens and Ash from Alien, the good and the bad. And I actually think it's executed really, really well in this, in the sense that his true allegiance and interest is to knowledge.
Yeah. And it
Uh,
plays out really well because the way they execute it is that basically they give him the privilege of sort of knowing what people are doing behind each other's backs. So from a story standpoint, we don't know exactly where his allegiance lies because we're like, well, why, if he knows this, why wouldn't he report it?
Right?
Right.
He's letting the kids do this, right? It seems like he's working against Boy Cavalier. Like, what's he doing here? Yeah.
And all he's really doing is like, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, the more knowledge I have, the better
Yep.
decisions I can make in the future.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like, he's like, hey, we have scientific protocols for a reason. We want to learn. We're just trying to do these things. And he's like, hey, whose side am I on? It ends up I'm on Prodigy's side, but he's not like a solo rogue agent where he's like, I'm just in it for myself, but he's just about acquiring as much knowledge as possible so you can make the best decision possible. I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting take. I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of
That
sense.
seems exactly like what an AI would do, I would think, in many cases,
Yeah, like, oh, okay, well, like let these kids are doing this. Well, let them do it because
Let's
that
see what
might,
plays out with these aliens and how
yeah,
they
that
interact. This is weird,
might work out in our favor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and I'm sure as an AI, you're running through, an Android, you're running through all those scenarios. You're like, well, it seems like there's a lot of upside here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It could go horribly wrong, but it could go incredibly right.
Yep.
So you're like, risk reward. But if you're an Android or an AI, you're not scared.
Yeah.
You're
Also
just
true.
playing odds. You're like, no, I mean, it just makes sense. So I thought that character was really well done. I thought Timothy Oliphant played it well. He was
Hmm.
always a little bit off. I mean, you kind of wondered if he was an android, and he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think they were like hiding it. It didn't come across to me that they were like, oh my gosh, reveal. You're like,
Yeah.
no, we
Yeah.
all kind of thought so, but
Yeah.
that's probably how all the characters in that world feel whenever, you probably encounter an android. You're like, I don't know. Or
Yep.
someone weird.
Yeah. Right.
You're like, oh, are you an android? And you're like,
Are you
nope,
an android? Yep.
just a crazy guy. Well, to wrap up the conversation, CP, I did want to ask you, I mean, how do you think they did ending season one? So I'm going to ask you on two levels. One,
Okay.
how do you think they did ending it thematically? And then how do you think they did ending it within the context of the overall Alien timeline, or for that matter, leading up to Alien 1?
Who? There's a lot of questions that are still out there for us as the audience. So they left us on a cliffhanger. In fact, a big cliffhanger at the very end,
Yeah,
which obviously we are very curious to see how this plays out. Um, I have mixed feelings because for one, again, what's explored and the advances in technology are kind of contrary to the world of Alien, right?
yeah,
I didn't like the domestication of the xenomorph. I thought that was weird.
definitely. I
I
agree.
think the arcs from the story, for the most part, it kind of ends as we would expect. I feel like in some case though, it played it a little safe. You know,
Okay.
I think they could have been bolder to kill off a few more characters than they did. I think that would have been okay.
You know what I kind of thought might happen and would have been pretty bold is I thought Wendy might kill her brother.
Well, based on episode 7, that's where I thought we were going to. And I was like, this would be incredibly gutsy if they did it.
Yeah, I wondered if they would, and they didn't. It didn't even get close. I mean,
No.
it ends up that they just played it off as like she was a kid, and that was the first time that her trust was, or well, really the second time that her trust was violated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and so it was like she was just mad that she's like, I can't believe you would like betray me. And then another one of the kids is like, don't worry, he's on our side. Like it was just stupid. And she's like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, I didn't really like that. I thought that was also kind of a disservice to his character.
Yeah, it was also weird too because like he ends up shooting the redhead with like a shotgun, but the way Wendy treats it in the moment is like he just killed her, but it ends up she just got knocked out.
Yeah.
So then it also felt like a little bit later when she's still mad at him, you're like, redhead's fine, bitch.
Yeah. You're like, the robot survived. Like, relax.
Yeah,
He,
it's all
he in
good.
fact maybe saved everyone's life based on how the tensions on the boat were going, right?
Yeah, like the redhead started killing people, like actually killing people, and was gonna kill this guy's friend. So you're like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Use a little logic here. You'll get
Yeah.
there. So yeah, that was I don't know, that was a little weird. But what do you think about like the synthetics essentially taking over? Essentially saying it's our time to rule.
I mean, I think we were kind of, I think thematically that sort of works with the evolution of the kids, right? And the fact that they're playing, many times the scientists who designed them are talking about how the kids are evolving in ways they didn't expect. I thought that that thematically worked. I think we probably were, I guess I felt it could have been a little bolder in the takeover. If we had seen them, if Wendy took out her sword from episode 2 and stabbed it through Boy Cavalier, I would have been like, whoa, that's dope. You know,
Yeah. I think
the creation kills the creator.
everybody that was sort of a main character ended up living, her brother still on her side. It did feel a little safe. And it also felt like, even though they are like, it's our time to rule, it felt like to me, it was because they understood the power they had.
Yeah,
And so they're like, it's our time to rule simply because they had power, but not because they had matured.
true.
I feel like the true evolution of them from kids to adults would be to be like, we're going to murder you
Yeah.
because that's what adults do. And I'm not saying like,
No,
hey,
no, I understand what you mean. Like to
in like a
truly say
primal way.
we're no longer kids anymore, right?
Yeah. So like if I want to seize power, I don't lord power over you, I kill you.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been maybe a little bit more powerful thematically. I also kind of what you alluded to, the domestication of the aliens. It makes me wonder where the aliens fit into all this, like the xenomorphs going forward. Like it doesn't even seem like they're the threat anymore.
Well, right, because again, I'm thinking back to Alien Romulus, right? Which takes place essentially between Alien and Aliens in the Alien
Mm-hmm.
timeline. So years after this. And, it's all about that they've been doing intense research on the xenomorphs. And I'm like, well, you would think someone would just, message Earth and be like, hey, this whole xenomorph thing, right? You guys figured out how to talk to him? Like, problem solved.
Someone did.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Prodigy would be really important to the future of whatever's going on because if they can transfer consciousness into these synthetic bodies that can speak to these aliens, that would be incredibly valuable. Not from a trillions of dollars standpoint, the way the CEO was talking about it, but like because apparently if you can talk to these aliens, you can control them. So
yeah.
you're like, really? Like, I don't know, that whole so that's getting into the whole timeline aspect now, not just the theme of the show. So I don't know. I didn't find it to be the strongest ending, but I did enjoy it. I didn't hate it.
Hmm.
I mean, I thought
No,
it
I agree.
worked.
And there's good suspense throughout most of the series. I mean, they do a great job of building tension, especially in the last episode, with we're not sure what's going to happen. I mean, it's very clear that Boy Cavalier intends to kill Hermit.
Yeah.
That one synthetic intends to kill him. Moro plans to kill Kitch. Like, there are people who were like, okay, this is you know,
Yeah.
there's some suspense here. I thought that was good. I felt that like when I look at it from a macro sense, I'm like, it could have been bolder, you know?
Yeah. So we have season two hopefully coming on the way. But I will say this, and I think you'll agree with me. We got episode 5, and
Honestly, that was all I wanted, man.
that was really like the most fun. I even loved Morrow in that episode, how he was sort of he took on that, Ellen Ripley role where he's like, hey, he is an android and he's following orders, but he is like, hey, this is what we have to do. And everybody else is sort of, the guys are worried about their shares or, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you
Right.
have the captain who's having sexual relations with another crew member and like everybody has their stuff. It was fun. I mean,
Yeah. No.
God, I would have. I mean, if they just like made a movie of that, or like even if they're like, hey, we made this 1 hour short of
Yeah.
Alien, I'm like, that worked.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I thought that was exactly what I That was exactly what I was hoping to get out of Alien Earth that I was afraid I wouldn't. And even if the other, 7 episodes were super substandard, which they're not, I
They're
probably would be
not.
like,
It's
dude,
really
this was
good.
good. I really like, we got that one episode. It was worth it.
All right. Well, to end the podcast, then, CP, I'm going to throw a question over to you, which you asked me after I finished the show, which is, I mean, what would you rate this?
From my perspective,
Yeah.
9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, probably 9.5. There's
Okay.
room to grow, but this is the thing. You have to remember, I come at this, I love sci-fi. Like sci-fi series tend to rank above my favorites, so I do hold them in a higher, regard. I also really love the Alien franchise, and I told you I did not think this would deliver. So I came into it super critical. And the fact that I think I watched every episode and was like, all right, I'm here for this. I can't wait for the next one. I mean, I'd been telling you since like episode 2, I was like, dude, you should check it out. It's good. I, we could get hypercritical and dissect it, but for the most part, I felt like it delivered what I wanted it to.
Yeah, it was sick. I mean, if I'm going against what I consider to be like the shows, the modern shows that like I think are like a 10 out of 10, like I really enjoyed, Ted Lasso. I enjoyed Succession, Andor. Um, I would probably give Alien Earth about an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
there's some flaws, some stuff where I thought maybe it could have been a little bit bolder, and the boldness may have papered over some of the other stuff. But at the end of the day, it was so much fun. Like you said, I look forward to every episode. And you know me, I don't really like to give out like sevens. So you're either going down to a 6 or you're an 8. And this is definitely an 8.
Well, and I mean, and we didn't even talk about it. The music's great. The set
How about
design.
ending? How about ending every episode on like a rock song? I
Yeah,
mean, it
I
was
love
kind of
that.
badass. Yeah,
I
it was kind of
love that.
badass.
Yeah. The set design is brilliant. They spent a lot of time going back and trying to rebuild sets faithfully that were in line with the original world of Alien created in 1979. They tried to do a lot of effects practically when possible. And I think that those things show up on the screen and do help um, counterbalance some of the story failures, just in the sense that I think the normal approach in the Marvel world today, you know, this
Yeah,
is produced by Disney
CGI.
too. Just CGI the whole thing, and they didn't do it. They spent the time and they built the sets, and you can really appreciate it when you watch it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, obviously, particularly Ivor, because in your comment you mentioned that you loved Alien Earth, would love to hear your thoughts. And I'm sure you have plenty. If anything, maybe we'll all get together again and watch episode 5.
Yeah, right.
But to everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. And we'd love to hear your thoughts too. If you've seen Alien Earth, if you haven't, hopefully you're inspired to see it now. And, continue the conversations. But you can follow the show at filmmakerscompass.com, where we have a feed of all previous episodes, as well as our social media links, where you can follow the show at FilmComp Podcast or at FilmComp Pod. You can follow me at BigKidDman and CP.
You can follow me at NDCal5. Thank you for hanging out and talking Alien Earth with us. We see you back here next week, and we're going to talk Tron. So until then, keep watching movies.